Up, wow. Oh my god. Pick it up.
Right guys, hello and welcome to another Let's Talk. Today I am with the lovely Tia, who's going to start talking to us all about herself and her fitness journey into bodybuilding. Hi Tia, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's Saturday afternoon for me. I believe it's morning for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
How early is it for you?
So right now it's actually 6:15, so I guess on a Saturday that's pretty early.
That's very early because most people would probably be drunk and hungover. What are you doing up so early?
Well, I always wake up early and I just I feel like I can get more stuff done in the morning, so.
So you've been on a recent fitness journey and you started a bikini competition for your first one and you came second place. Could you tell us more about that and why you started?
Yeah, so we can start with why I started. It's just, I could go and talk for days because I love talking about myself. But, so I basically started because, I always saw bikini competitions, before I even got into bodybuilding at all. I always saw bikini competitions as this impossible thing, but I'll never be able to attain. And I was in nursing school for a year, and then something happened with the course load that I had to drop a course, and then it was just then I wasn't able to take it again the next semester, and then that's when I got into bodybuilding. But between kind of that time, I went into a caloric deficit, and then I saw my body transform, and I was like, oh my God, I actually have the potential, I can do this. So it was after I saw myself change through my own means that I hired a coach, and I was like, okay, we're doing this bikini competition. I believe in myself now, I can do it. Before that, I was always into fitness. Fitness and nutrition was a big thing for me. I was overweight as a kid, so I would always try to combat that, in the healthiest means possible. I was like, okay, so if you want to lose weight, you gotta exercise and eat right. Everyone says that. So ever since I was 12, I was always been into just trying to eat right and get healthy and get on the right path. And so I hired my coach, and then I was like, okay, I want to do a bikini competition. I was like, I want to do it as soon as I can. I thought that I was ready right then and there, but I went into her house, I met her, I went into my suit, and she looked at me and she's like, okay, so your shoulders need development, your back needs development, your glutes need development. I was like, all right, so being lean isn't all. Yeah. So being lean isn't all it is. And that's what, personally for me, that's why I kind of wanted to do it, because I wanted to get to that next level lean. But it's about, a huge part about it is your muscles and your muscle aesthetics, and anyone in bodybuilding is going to be like, well, yeah, duh, but I didn't really know that much about it. So I was very, very shocked, because I thought that my shoulders were pretty good for a female, and then now that I look at them, I'm just okay, well, yeah, no, you're kind of dumb to think that, but
yeah. So there was still a lot of development in that.
Yeah, there was. And I just thought that I would do one. I thought it was a bucket list for me, and I didn't think that it would become my entire life, and I didn't think that I would go to the gym twice a day, every day. So yeah, it was a really good experience though, and it's changed my life.
It was still great that even though it was your first one, you came second in it, especially from, your coach saying you've got a lot more development when you thought you were there. Yeah,
so that was actually very surprising. My first prep, especially near the end, this goes through almost every single competitor's head, where they're just I'm not lean enough. I bring down my carbs, bring up my cardio. I just need to lose more weight and more weight. And I was just my biggest fear, because I never competed before, was I'm going to be one of those girls that don't belong on stage because it looks like I didn't do my prep properly. After my peak week and everything, I was okay, I looked at myself and I looked at the other girls, and I was I do belong on the stage. I did work really hard for my prep, and then I was okay, this will work. I'm satisfied with what I brought to this stage, and yeah, it was a really hard journey, but really enjoyable as well.
Is there a specific diet plan that you're on now, or is it only for when you're prepping?
So I think bodybuilder to bodybuilder is always a little bit different, especially from females to males. If you're like a hard gainer or what have you. For me, myself, I know that I put on weight like no tomorrow. Like I will look at a chip and 10 pounds goes on. Like it's so easy for me to gain weight, which is a curse and a blessing because it means that I can put on muscle a little bit easier, but then dieting is a bit harder. So right now I'm actually just dieting for a photo shoot because I wasn't able to do my show because of COVID this year. 100% on my diet, I'm very strict. But even in my off season, even before bodybuilding, I've always eaten the same thing. It's like chicken breast, broccoli, rice every single day. And I think it's a mindset thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but still have not gotten tired of it. Like I could eat chicken breast all day long and still love it. So
how long have you been on that diet for?
It's kind of changed I've had 2 different coaches. So I have my coach now, and then I've had my coach that I started with. And she was amazing. She just moved away, and it was just, I wanted a local coach. But so from coach to coach, it kind of differentiates and like where you are in your diet, because some coaches will switch you to whitefish to get you leaner because it's a leaner protein. So right now I have a lot of cod in my diet. I've been eating chicken breast for 3 or 4 years. And like my carb sources switches up from like rice to sweet potato, but it's always whole foods, and chicken breast and rice is usually my go-to.
So do you count the calories, or how many calories do you consume a day?
I know people talk about like macros and macro tracking and everything like that. And for me, I don't really think about that because I eat the same thing every day. I know like the portions that I'm supposed to have. My coach gives it to me. And then the less I have to think about it, the better. Cause I just like, especially when I'm dieting, my head is just racing on everything that I have to do. And I'm like low energy, and it just feels like I have so much more to do just because I'm a little bit slower, because I just don't have that energy. Like I have tracked it, but I don't track it every day cause it's the same thing every day. But I believe it's like 1,200 calories right now. And that's me being like 3 weeks out from a photo shoot. So it's very low. I would say I'm about 1,700 to 1,800 calories in my off season and at like a maintenance / surplus. Yeah. So right now my calories are quite low, but it's not a sustainable like thing for me.
It's not a drastic one because, you know, sometimes when you see these people doing the competitions like you're doing, they'll go to like 700, 800 calories. Still, you being in that range, it's low, yes, but it's still quite normalish.
Yeah, so that's like you got to be careful with that because you could hurt your body with that low, and it also depends on like height and muscle and all that as well. So
how many times have you competed since that first one?
So 2018, that was my first one. I did Van City Showdown in October, and I was planning on doing figure in my next one, which is a bit, I don't want to say it's a step up because all bodybuilding is difficult in its own way, but you need more muscle for that one and you need to be leaner. So I took 2 years off to just build for that, and I tried and I worked so hard. And I did put on about 50 pounds of muscle mass in about a year. Did go into my last prep that got canceled, but I went into that thinking that I was going to do figure, and then as I was going through the poses and motions, I was like, okay, like I still have a bikini body, I'm not big enough for this, like I bit off more than I can chew, I'm gonna look like a puny little girl up to those girls. So halfway through my prep, I switched back to bikini. I was like, okay, so thankfully I didn't buy a suit. Thankfully, like the shoes were the same and everything. So it was an easy switch. I just had to practice my posing a little bit better. I want to say like I did 1.5 because I did do the whole entire prep for the competition that got canceled during COVID. But I never stepped on stage. So I did one where I actually like went through the motions, and I did a peak week, and I got that orange spray tan. And then I did my own mini competition for a photo shoot about a month ago, where I went through another peak week, and I was actually leaner during that photo shoot than I was on stage, so that was pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was different coaching methods, different muscle maturity, and all that too as well. So it was really good to see, because I was like, okay, so if I did compete, I would have been happy with myself.
I mean, that's the main thing, that you definitely are happy with yourself doing something like that. I recently started or signed up at the beginning of this year for a boxing match. So it was the first one. I thought last year I'd never do anything quite like it. And then just sort of as time came on and talking to a few of my friends, and then like the Tyson Fury boxing matches and that at the end of last year, I thought, this is incredible, like I'd love to sign up and do one. And so I really wanted to push myself, both sort of mentally and physically. And so just going through the motions and the training camp and the nutrition and that, I mean, I've got to eat 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day. So
That's a lot.
it's a lot. Sundays are the best days, because on some of the times it's just food I absolutely hate. But even though I'm sort of like suffering them, it's like a pleasurable thing, because it's really benefiting my physical health, my mental health. Like my personal trainer laughs because I swear at him all the time.
Yeah.
Because of how painful the training camps are. But at the end of every single one of them, I always thank him, because I feel good that I've done it and I've completed it, and I'm, in buckets of sweat.
Yeah, it's always those endorphins after where you're just like, okay, this feels good.
It's that nice relaxing feeling afterwards.
Yeah, it's like the calm after the storm. Is that the saying? Mm-hmm. That's not the saying, but you know what I mean.
I know what you're going with it. When you do your prep, and especially sort of on stage for your first show, I haven't had the boxing, so I don't know that feeling. But when you get up on stage, how nerve-wracking is that sort of feeling and sensation for you?
For me, I did 2 categories. So I did the novice, which means that I've never competed before. And then I did my open height class. So when I did my novice, I did my routine twice. So I did my novice routine. My legs were shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't stop, and I was like, I know my routine, and thank God I just practiced it, because my brain like went out the door. I wasn't able to think. It was just muscle memorization getting me through that routine, because I didn't know what I was doing. But then when I went on stage for my second routine, I was confident. I was like, hell yes, I got this, I'm good. And I didn't care who was watching me, and like I had all my friends there, they were cheering me on. My mom was there, and my coach was like yelling at me, and it was a good feeling, but it was shocking at first, because I mean, I played sports in high school and everything, but I've never really like been on stage. So it's like having a lot of people look at you was a bit nerve-wracking for me personally, just because I've not really ever been through that experience before. It's like, oh my God, everyone is just looking at me, and like they can see my legs shake, and it was just making me shake even more. I was like, all right, just calm down, breathe. But yeah, at my second routine, I was like full of confidence. I wasn't shaking, so it was a shock for sure.
Before your first one, how you said you've sort of never experienced anything like that. Have you ever done any sort of public speaking or stood in front of large crowds for any reasons, whether it be lectures or talks or...
No, so the closest thing to that would be like, I used to have like projects in uni, so I would like do my solo projects and talk about like whatever my project was about, but that's in a classroom, and like I went to a university that had small classroom sizes, so the most I've ever like been in front of people is like 30 people at a time. And even like when my family comes over for like Christmas dinner or something, and I say something and then everyone just looks at me and I have to finish my sentence, and I like choke up a little bit. I'm like, they're my family, but just even like being the spotlight in front of like a small group of people is a bit nerve-wracking for me, because I've never really been that. I've been always like shy and reserved my whole life, so it was like very, yeah.
So do you feel all this sort of prep work, as much as it's benefiting your physical health, do you think with that exposure to the large crowd, and sort of with that mental toughness to be able to go through your prep and even get up on stage, do you reckon that's helped you a lot with any mental struggles?
I want to say, I wouldn't say that getting up on stage has done that for me, but bodybuilding, the journey itself, has done that for me. As I think I said this before, I like really struggled before I found bodybuilding. I just didn't know what I was doing in life. I was insecure. I didn't know, like, I was questioning myself all the time, and sometimes like I have doubts in my life, like I'm just human, that happens, but very far and few in between now, and I'm very confident in who I am, and when I say something and someone doesn't like me, I'm like, okay, well, not everyone's gonna like me, it's not my fault, right? So before bodybuilding, I was struggling a lot, I would say, but it was just the journey and me discovering that, like, all right, I can work hard and I am good enough for myself and I can do this and this is my purpose and all that's what really helped me. It's not getting up on stage, and a lot of people will say that it's not like the journey, it's not the stage itself, it's the journey, because the stage is only one day, but the journey is however long your prep is, like 20 to 16 weeks usually. So you have to enjoy the journey if you want to get up on that stage. Otherwise, you're just like not gonna do it, or you will do it and you'll just hate your life for sure and not want to do it again. So
from all of this, I imagine you'll probably reschedule the contest to next year or whenever COVID restrictions allow it.
yeah.
After then, what do you think would be the next stage for you? Just more competitions or a different version? Because you said there was like bikini and...
Yeah. So for me, I actually think about this like quite often. So actually, when I graduated from high school, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a nurse. This is going to be my life. Like, I want to help people. And wow, I've changed since then. But I was in nursing school and I got accepted into the nursing program. And then I took a semester off, and then I was like, okay, well, with this time off, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. And then I was like, okay, well, now I don't want to be a nurse. I love bodybuilding and I love lifting and I want this to be my life. So ever since then, like I'm very goal oriented. So I need a goal. I need something to work towards. And this has kind of been like a weird period in my life, because I don't know what like the next 5 years of my life is going to be like. For a very long time, like ever since I was in grade 8, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a nurse. That's going to be my life. I'm ready. So this has just been kind of just very odd for me, not knowing what comes next. I am saving up for school. I don't know what now, but I'm going to be taking a personal training course just to have that for myself. If I don't use it for anyone else, it doesn't really bother me that much, but I feel like I should just have it, just because, you know, there's probably some information out there that I should know that I probably don't. And then I've always wanted to be something in nutrition, so whether it's a dietitian, nutritionist, something like that. They're both not easy to get through. I've heard they're very hard courses, but something or other that I will have like a good life with. But even if I have no plans in not getting out of the bodybuilding world, like this is just like my life. I love the journey. I love everything about it. I love the people. Like, I just feel like this is my place. So I'm definitely going to be staying in the bodybuilding world, but whereas my academic future goes, I'm not entirely sure, but something's going to happen. I just don't know what.
Yeah. Would there ever be
an opportunity, or would you ever consider doing it full time, the bodybuilding, if there was like ever sort of a career?
Yeah, so even when you look at like pro bodybuilders, they don't make their money from bodybuilding itself. They make their money from, you know, people following them and like them starting their own clothing brand or their supplements or, you know, what have you, their own merchandise of some sort, or they pair up with other companies to get their own kind of commission and stuff like that. So bodybuilding has never been like, for me, it's never been like, okay, well, I'm going to make it pro and then I'm good, I'm set. It's always just been a hobby that is a bit more than a hobby because it's my entire life. It's my 24/7. But yeah, I mean, if I never make it pro in my life, that's not my goal. I will be completely fine with that. But if I were to be one day, like, say, like, I'd be a coach or I'd be working as a nutritionist half the time and like coaching people the other half of my time or something like that, that would be really cool because I do love this community and I love like going to the expos and meeting new people and just like that whole entire energy, and everyone just loves being there. It's just incredible. So I don't see myself getting out of bodybuilding like anytime soon at all, ever.
Who's the most famous person you've ever met through one of the conventions and that? Or who's the biggest person you've met?
Honestly, I haven't really met any famous people. I was going to go to the Olympia this year before it got canceled, so I was hoping to meet a few people there. One of the people that I really want to meet, and it's actually not just one person, it's like the entire, I call them the powerhouse family because they're all bodybuilders and they're incredible. So it would be Melissa Bumstead, her brother Chris, and then her husband Ian. And they just seem like amazing, down-to-earth people that are just like in bodybuilding because I fucking love it, and it's just incredible. I'm gonna butcher his name, but I think it's Fuad Abiad. He's a pretty big bodybuilder. I follow him on YouTube and Instagram, and he just seems like a down-to-earth guy. He's funny, he's hilarious. So yeah, I would say those 4 people.
But you mentioned how to make their own sort of clothing and that, and you're sponsored by a few companies and products and that. Which ones are you sponsored by?
So I'm sponsored by my supplement company. They're called TC Nutrition, and I've been sponsored by them for, I believe, a year and a half. And then I'm sponsored by a clothing company called Devotee Wear, and it's been just over a year by them, I believe. So yeah, so that's been good.
Did you seek sponsorship of them, or did they contact you to sponsor you?
So they kind of contacted me. So with TC Nutrition at the time, I was working in a supplement store, and I didn't really have that many followers on Instagram yet or anything like that, but like my page was starting to grow slowly. And I think that I didn't even have that many. I think I was at like 1,200 or something when they started replying to my stories that I was taking them in, and then I think that they saw that my page was starting to grow, and I think it was at 1,500 followers that they asked me to be their athlete. But really, they saw me because I was taking them in my stories because I genuinely love their product. I wasn't like, I just want to be sponsored by a company and I was trying to reach out. I never did that. They kind of approached me, but they found me because I was mentioning them in my Instagram stories. And that's like the biggest thing for me when people, it's kind of annoying because when people are like, oh, how do I get sponsored? I was like, I don't know, man. Like they kind of just came to me. It was never my goal to be sponsored. It just kind of happened. So TC came to me through actually both of them. Instagram is just such a growing industry now. So they both came to me through Instagram, but through Devotee Wear, one of my bodybuilding friends, she was sponsored by them. And then they sent out, I think, an email probably to all their athletes asking if they knew anyone that would be willing to take on a sponsorship, and she recommended me. And they just reached out to me, and that's how that one happened. So not as exciting, but yeah, they did. They approached me as well.
No, but still, as much as it's sort of, you say it's not as exciting, it's nice that your friend sort of suggested you, and then the company agreed with her, saying, yes, this is like a perfect like candidate for the product.
Yeah, that was really cool, and it's been really, really awesome. I'm friends with like all the athletes, and both companies. We have like group chats that we just talk about, and it's a good time. I really enjoy it.
I know you sort of tagged the clothing one in beforehand. What makes them so good compared to other products?
So like for clothing, I would say it's really hard to stand out because there's so many clothing brands, and especially now versus like 5 or 10 years ago, it's just so easy to approach as a clothing company. It's so easy to approach just like a factory that prints out blanks just to get your label on it. But like for them, for example, there was these pairs of pants that I actually absolutely love, and they were just searching for the perfect fit for over a year. So they put in a lot of thought, time, and effort into like their quality and what they had imagined these certain pants to be. So them being a smaller company, they're also just better at reaching out to their customers, and if there's ever exchanges or anything like that, they're really great with that. So it's a pretty young couple that runs that business, and they're just very sweet and loving. So
what would you then say, of course, when people sort of ask you like, oh, how have you got sponsored on that? Do a lot of people sort of message you and ask for advice or give you kind words about all your bodybuilding work?
I have before. I don't know if it's because people just see me do my own thing. They're like, okay, she's doing her own thing. Like, I'll just leave her be. Or I wouldn't say I'm very intimidating, so I don't think girls would like shy away from messaging me. But I get a lot of like, you know, my friends gassing me up and saying that I look good and whatnot. But I don't usually get like, oh, hey, I need help with this, and this. I have gotten that before, but it's not very common. I think more recently, there was this girl that I went to high school with, and she was probably the most popular girl in high school. And in high school, I was like bottom of the barrel, like no one even glanced at me. So now that we go to the same gym, she reached out to me and she was like, girl, I gained 10 pounds over COVID, like I need help. And she reached out to me and she told me that she gained weight over COVID and she needed help losing it. Okay, let me see what I can do. And she kind of had an idea about like macros and everything, but she's never heard of something called a macro calculator, which is very easy to find on the internet. A lot of like what I know is from the internet. Like I just researched like before bodybuilding, like what even are macros, like it's like it sounds a lot like macaroni, I'm not sure. But yeah, I helped her out with that, and I was like, this is how you can figure out what your macros should be, and then just make sure that it's all like whole foods. You can download like MyFitnessPal just to figure out those macros for yourself. And then I actually just got a message from her, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, and just like a big thank you of, I never gave her like a workout plan, but I kind of like said, these are the amount of days that you should be training. These are your off days. This is probably the cardio that you should around be doing, with your heart rate kind of like right here. And then she messaged me after I think a month or two and of her doing that, and she's like, wow, like I lost all that weight and I feel really good. And that was actually really cool to hear, because I've never really like been like with someone through that. Like when people reach out to me, they're usually like out in Kansas or something. They don't really know me, and they're just looking for like a quick fix or something. And she has always been very, very athletic, and it was just really cool to see her put in the work. She just needed a bit of guidance.
Yeah. Oh, that's sort of, especially coming from someone who you sort of probably idolized.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. She was always very athletic. Everyone loved her in high school. And I was just kind of like, oh, hey, do you know who I am? It was really cool, yeah.
So on the opposite side of that, do you ever get any criticisms that you have to deal with?
Not Surprisingly not online. I feel that I really put out a good energy and I don't really get any negative yet. Probably just because I don't really have that many people following me, but I have gotten kind of negative people like in my family that don't really like what I'm doing or how confident I've become, just because they live a different life, and you can't really be mad at that. But I have like, oh, like I don't like how you posted this, like it's kind of offensive or whatever. And like, it's not offensive at all for me, in my opinion, but you're entitled to whatever. Or my mom at first, she didn't really like the whole bodybuilding thing because she didn't think it was that healthy. And I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. Like peak week, you are draining your body of all the water and you cramp up quite a bit sometimes. So that is fair. She's just being a mom. But I think she realized that it really did fix my relationship with food, and I'm a lot healthier now than I was before. So she kind of got over that. But as far as me putting myself out there online and everything seems pretty positive. I mean, I've gotten like, I think maybe one person hating, and that was like 2 years ago. So I'm pretty lucky, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you've got the right group of people, right little support group around. It's nice and niche almost.
It's an amazing community, like just absolutely incredible. Everyone's there to support each other.
What are your sort of workouts and routine like? Is it a lot of cardio and weight training, or is it more weight training than cardio?
So it's always like my primary goal is just to, if not build muscle, keep the muscle I have. I try not to do that much cardio. Like as little cardio as possible is great, especially because it just can be so boring. But right now, again, because I am dieting, so it would be a bit different in my off season. Usually in my off season, I'll do like cardio maybe 4 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. And right now, actually, just because I do work a more physical job, I'm kind of running heavy wheelbarrows up like ramps and digging out holes and stuff like that. So my entire job is kind of like, my heart is elevated. I don't need to do that much cardio. Usually my workouts are usually, if I'm focused, they should take me about an hour and a half. And then cardio, with this job, I'm usually doing 20 or 30 minutes 5 times a week. But before, when I was working in a supplement store, I was kind of sitting around all day and not really putting out that much energy. So I would do about an hour of cardio 6 or 7 times a week. But that's me being in a deficit and trying to lose weight. So it just depends on what season I'm in.
How do you break it up? Do you sort of do like arms one day, then chest, or do you do like pull, push, legs?
My coach has actually, I feel he's a genius, and sometimes I just don't ask what he's doing because I just don't understand it. But the way he puts his workout plans is a lot of the times he'll like, okay, you're gonna do quads and then you're gonna be doing delts on like a lower body exercise and upper body. Okay, this does not make sense. Why don't we just put legs together and upper body together? But yeah, so right now, I will be training. I train 6 times a day, 6 times a week. And then I have 1 rest day, but those ones are usually 2 body parts put together, unless it's like legs, then it's like hams and glutes are usually together. The rest is whatever he puts together for me. It's a bit odd. I don't know what goes on in that head, but he is pretty smart, so I just take it and do my thing. That
seems like a good sort of place as well to wrap up. It's been, of course, a lovely talk. Sort of just to get some final words from yourself. Is there any advice you'd give to people either trying to pursue a healthier life through nutrition, or who might want to try the bodybuilding?
I think one of the biggest things for me is, if bodybuilding isn't for you, then don't force it. But there's so many ways to enjoy a healthy lifestyle. Like there's just so many different activities out there. So I really feel like if you do put an effort in and try new things, you're going to find something that you enjoy. And, you know, healthy food doesn't have to be boring food, everything in moderation. So it's just try and educate yourself a little bit on what's gonna fuel your purpose to go. Doesn't have to be to the extremes of bodybuilding. It can just be losing 5 pounds over the course of a month, which is very doable. And then once you do that, you can see that you can achieve that, and then if you're very overweight, then you can continue on that journey. But I would also say don't get discouraged, because shit happens, life happens. But everything else is cliche, and I'm sure that there's 1,000 speeches on those cliche things as well. So I would just say keep on doing your thing, because it's going to work eventually. You just can't give up.
Brilliant, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. What's the rest of your plans for the day then?
Oh, well, today is Saturday, my first day off in like 6 days. So I'm going to be just catching up with house chores, cleaning, meal prep, doing my laundry, and I might go to work to get some extra hours again, because my boss just got a new job, so I'm able to make some more money, and so I might do that.
So thank you for joining us for that Let's Talk. All of Tia's links will be down below with any of the brands that she's sponsored by. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned.